Hello everyone, thanks for coming to our presentation. My name is Fabio, I'm from Totocross, and I'm here to talk a little about what to consider when choosing the right programming language for your next GUI project on Linux embedded. So when we think about GUI projects for embedded device, we usually think of stuff like this, simple applications that are not very attractive, that just kind of gets the job done. But as the market grows and we have more people and more projects with implementations, it's really important to really captivate the user. Uh, it's especially important to bring back to be able to gather all the experience the user has from his life, from desktop applications and especially mobile applications, since it's something so common in our lives, to make our embedded applications easier to understand, to learn, to understand everything at a glance. So instead of doing something like this, we should try to make something more attractive, like this or like this. Because at the end of the day, the first impression you user will get from your application comes from the interface, from your GUI. So you want to have something that your user can relate to, can really get excited about using it, to quickly understand what's going on. Uh, uh, from my personal experience, I'm not a doctor, but recently I've been on a dentist, and she was using a machine that, frankly, I don't know what it does, but it had a screen, and I could easily understand what was going on. And so even as I was there, laying on a chair with my mouth open, I could look at the screen and see what was going on. It was not something like this. So that's the kind of thing you have to think, especially when we're talking about really sensitive medical or industry related stuff. So the user must be able to quickly understand everything at a glance. And if I was able to do that on my position on the chair, it was even easier for her that was actually operating the machine. So that's the kind of stuff you have to think. And even when they're thinking about more broad users, more regular consumers, having an easy to understand, easy to use, being able to cause a real good first impression can make all the difference, even when choosing the kind of car you want to drive. So even when we're talking about a media center or something like that, it may be even more important to be able to really captivate the user, to show something that he won't get tired to look at every day when he's driving his car, for example, or when he's at work. So we have narrowed down to 7 topics to consider when choosing the right programming language for your next project. So these 7 topics are the time to develop, developers' cost and availability, maintenance costs, footprint, a modern UI, performance, and language complexity. So for these topics, we're going to analyze 4 different languages. It's important to note also that these languages are usually, the results are usually dependent on the type of framework to build your GUI. And these topics are rated from 1 to 5, where 1 is a bad score. So let's take a look at each language individually and see their strong and weakest suits. So let's start with C++. It's easily the most used language when we think about embedded applications. And some of the most used tools best available tools around are Qt and LVGL. So this evaluation is based on these frameworks. As you can see, we have a really low rating for language complexity, time to developer, developers cost and availability, and maintenance costs. Because C++ is a language that requires more effort, more time to develop. Stuff like memory leaks and security issues are more common, are easier to run to. Usually, you want developers with more experienced developers that are harder to get by and usually more costly. Considering this Qt and the VGL, we are able to deliver modern UIs. This rating is more about the how easy it is to make a modern UI for this using this language. So it's okay. It's not something that complicated, that far-fetched. Uh, and what you're getting from C++ is performance and footprint. So basically, you won't get any better than that. So now you're going to at the other end of the spectrum and talk about JavaScript. JavaScript has been getting a lot more traction in the embedded market because of the how easy it is to start a new project and to get a real attractive results with a modern UI, especially because of frameworks like Node-RED and Electron.js. Here on this evaluation, we're considering Electron.js because it's really easy to make a modern UI, and it's fairly common even for desktop applications. So with JavaScript, we have almost the exact opposite from C++. We have a language that it's really easy to learn and understand. It's really faster to develop for JavaScript, and there is a lot more developers available on the market. However, the flexibility and easy to use from JavaScript has a cost in terms of maintenance. The very nature of JavaScript makes it more prone to errors that only happen in runtime and that are harder to locate and fix. And of course, the main drawbacks are the increased footprint and the low performance when compared to other solutions. So it will definitely not be suitable for applications where you need low-cost hardware. So the next language we consider is Python. Much like JavaScript, Python is a fairly easy to learn and understand language. So we have a low language complexity, and it's a quicker development. It is also easier to come with to find developers in the market, so it translates in developer cost and availability. But differently from JavaScript, it doesn't have to come with a high maintenance cost. On the lower side of the diagram, we see we have a better ratio when it comes to performance, footprint, and modern UI. When we think about the UI, the main framework we can use in Python is Qt, much like C++. So the rating is the same as C++, but when you consider performance and footprint, we get a better ratio. You don't have to compromise as much performance and footprint than the other previous two options. So last but not least, Java is a fairly easy to learn and understand language. It doesn't have a high language complexity, but it's also a little more verbose than languages like JavaScript and Python. This translates in a higher time to develop. But it's also very easy to come by developers for Java, especially because it has been for a long time a fairly common language for schools and the broad market in general. The maintenance cost is one of the best, especially because Java leverages a lot of the main problems like handling memory management and hardware-related stuff. But it's also easier to maintain because it's easier to track down and locate problems and to locate them early during compile time. It's kind of the best words between C, C++, and JavaScript. It is also a lot easier to come up with a modern UI. Once again, considering we are using Totocross, which has its own API. I'm not considering here stuff like AWT or Swing. And it also comes with a really great performance and smaller footprint. And also with Totocross, you can use no code, which allows you to write Totocross GUI using Android XML. So if you're familiar to Android development and the Android XML, you can develop interfaces just like you would with Android and run on Totocross. And that way you can leverage your previous knowledge and have the benefits of performance and footprint from using Totocross and Java. So here's a quick overview for all the four languages we've considered. So once again, whenever the hardware cost is your main limiting aspect of your project, you'll probably be better with C, C++. With C++, we'll be able to come with high performance and low footprint in cheaper devices. On the other side of the spectrum, if hardware cost is not a limiting factor and you want to be able to make really attractive and modern UIs as fast as possible, JavaScript is probably your best bet. Python comes with a more balanced option, although it is still more closely related to JavaScript because of its footprint and performance. And if you need a more balanced, well-rounded solution, you can go with Java. And also, it's important to consider the cost of the frameworks and the tools considered here. So when you think about C, C++, and Python, you may want to use Qt, which is a commercial solution, so that cost has to be factored as well. But you can also consider using LVGL for C, C++, or Electron.js with JavaScript, or Totocross with Java, which can be used for free depending on your project. So once again, thanks for coming to our presentation. And I invite you to know a little more about Totocross. You can find us on GitHub/Totocross. So make sure to check us out and favorite our projects to help us reach more people. And also you can reach me on LinkedIn or other media. And thanks again, everyone, for coming.